You know how sometimes you hear a name from history and you're pretty sure you know who they are, but then it turns out you're thinking of someone completely different? Yeah, some names just create this fog of confusion. And today, we're on what I like to call an intellectual salvage mission to clear the air around one of the biggest offenders. And the name at the heart of it all? Apollonius.
So, when you hear the name Apollonius, what pops into your head? Is it a mystic philosopher? A guy who could supposedly raise the dead? Or is it the brilliant mathematician who basically defined the curves of our universe? Now, this isn't a trick question. It's a genuine historical puzzle, and it's the hook that's going to frame our entire investigation today. See, the problem is we have one name that's attached to several absolute titans of the ancient world. And what that's created is this kind of historical identity crisis, where the incredible achievements of one person get all jumbled up with the legends of another. And as we're about to see, untangling just the two main figures shows us that the name Apollonius was really a banner for genius across a ton of different fields.
Okay, so let's start by separating our two heavy hitters, the mystic and the mathematician. This is ground zero for where the historical wires get crossed, and untangling them is our first, absolutely critical step.
And the contrast here is just, wow, it's stark. On one hand, you've got Apollonius of Tyana. He was a philosopher and a sage whose followers claimed he could heal the sick, maybe even bring people back from the dead. But then, on the other hand, you have Apollonius of Perga. His miracles were purely intellectual. He's the guy who gave us the words we still use for conic sections, ellipse, parabola, and hyperbola. One shaped spiritual beliefs, the other shaped our entire understanding of physics and astronomy.
I mean, just think about that title. This is how foundational Apollonius of Perga was. He wasn't just a geometer, he was known, even way back then, as the great geometer. It's a title that just cements his identity, and it sets him completely apart from the philosopher.
But wait, our salvage mission doesn't stop there. Because once we separate the philosopher and the geometer, we uncover this whole other layer. The name Apollonius just keeps popping up in literature, in linguistics, even in politics.
All right, let's do a quick fire round. There was Apollonius of Rhodes, the epic poet who wrote the Argonautica, the story of Jason and the Golden Fleece. Then there's Apollonius Discalus, a grammarian who basically wrote the rulebook on syntax. And get this, to show you the name's reach, there was even an Apollonius who was the chief finance minister of Egypt under Ptolemy II. A poet, a linguist, a politician, all brilliant and all totally different people.
And this timeline really just puts it all into perspective. The geometer and the poet, they were contemporaries, living way back in the 3rd century BC. But the miracle worker, Apollonius of Tyana, he lived over 200 years later, right around the time of Jesus. And the grammarian came even later, in the 2nd century AD. We're talking centuries apart, which makes it absolutely crystal clear that we're dealing with different individuals.
So now, let's circle back to the great geometer for a minute, because his legacy is so profound that his name is literally baked into the language of mathematics we use today. First up, we have something called Apollonian gaskets. It's this beautiful, super complex fractal pattern. Imagine drawing a circle, then fitting a bunch of smaller circles inside it so they all just perfectly touch each other and the outer circle. Then you fill the gaps with even smaller circles, and you just keep going, forever. It's an infinitely intricate design, and it's named in his honor. Then there's the famous problem of Apollonius. Okay, the challenge is this. If you have 3 circles just sitting there on a flat surface, can you draw a 4th circle that is perfectly tangent, meaning it just barely touches all 3 of them? It sounds kind of simple, but trust me, it's a classic geometric puzzle that has challenged mathematicians for centuries.
And of course, there's Apollonius's theorem. This is a really fundamental theorem in geometry that connects the length of a line drawn from a corner of a triangle to the middle of the opposite side, that's a median, to the lengths of the other sides. It's just another piece of the puzzle showing how deeply his work is woven into the very fabric of modern math.
So why does this intellectual salvage mission really matter? I mean, it's about a lot more than just historical trivia.
Ultimately, by untangling all these different figures, we rescue their individual genius from that fog of a shared name. It lets us finally appreciate the unique, world-changing contributions each one of them made, to philosophy, to mathematics, to literature, to linguistics, without their legacies getting all blurred together into one confusing story.
This whole mission is a great reminder that history isn't always neat and tidy. Sometimes brilliant minds get lost in the shuffle of a common name or a forgotten text. And it leaves us with a really critical question we should always be asking. Whose legacy have we forgotten next?